top stories, Tigray and Amhara administrators express determination to resolve the differences amicably. And Mali's sole passenger train has resumed service after a 5-year break. Hello and welcome to ETV News. With the news, I'm Shifara Olaka. Thank you for joining us. Now, the chiefs of the Amhara regional state and Tigray interim administrator expressed their determination to resolve differences amicably. A delegation led by Tigray interim administrator Getachew Redda has discussed with Amhara regional officials in Bahrain city. Shagai Mata has more on that.
In a remarkable move towards peace and reconciliation in Ethiopia, Getachew Redda, the president of Tigray interim administration, made a historic visit on Sunday to Bahrain, the seat of the Amhara region. This marks the first ever visit by a high-ranking Tigrayan official to the region since the war sparked between the TPLF and the federal government forces, which ended with a peace agreement signed in Pretoria on 2nd November 2023. The Tigray interim administration president Getachew Redda expressed his determination to strengthen the historic ties between the Tigray and Amhara people, adding that open roads and reconnected the people.
Our people desire is peace and living together. They need to trade goods and products within two regions, but the roads are closed due to the war. Thousands are displaced. They need to come back to their area. Infrastructure are destroyed. We need to rebuild them. We, the leaders, are determined to take action in this discussion. We are agree in that resolve to our difference peacefully is not legally.
He also underscored that there is no difference between the people of Tigray and Amhara. The president indicated that our discussion is cordial as it benefits the two people.
Above all, we need to stop hostility. We need to resolve a difference through discussion. There is another option that we can do. Our discussion is cordial and desirable to the people. We need to prioritize people. We need to prioritize for the displaced one. The remaining will be resolved through discussion. In this regard, we determine to this level.
Chief of the Amhara state, Ilikal Kafale, for his part stressed that the Amhara leaders are committed to play their fair share and consolidate the peace process.
We, the Amhara leaders, are committed to play our role to unite the two people. We need to open roads so that people between the two regions can work and exchange products together. The people-to-people and religion-to-religion ties need to be strengthened. We need to root out disseminations of hostilities between the two regions. This happens when the relationship between the two people is strengthened.
He further indicated that we need to consolidate peace and resolve differences through discussion, if not legally.
I hope this discussion will not be the first in its kind. Other discussions will continue at the leaders and people level. We will strengthen trade relations between the two people. We need to consolidate peace. We will resolve differences through discussion, if not legally. Collective efforts are required to implement all these endeavors.
As there is no any contention between the people of Tigray and Amhara, we politicians need to resolve differences through discussion, the two chiefs emphasized.
Now, the Addis Ababa city administration has donated 500 million birr in kind and financial support to the Tigray region. Addis Ababa city administration Mayor Adana Chababy, who was present in Mekelle city and handed over the support, said that the city administration has provided more than 218 million birr in cash and in kind, worth more than 510 million birr. Adana stated that the city administration support will be for the restoration of schools and displaced people sheltered in the region. She added that the peaceful endeavor must be strengthened to ensure lasting peace in Ethiopia. On his part, Getachew Redda, president of the Tigray region interim administration, acclaimed the city administration for taking the initiative to support the Tigray region. Getachew added that maximum efforts are instrumental in returning the war-torn areas to development and growth. Now moving to other stories, the Intergovernmental Authority on Development, IGAD, is going to convene its 14th Ordinary Summit of Heads of State and Government in Djibouti. IGAD said that the summit will bring leaders and officials of various countries to discuss regional issues, including IGAD's response to the region's endeavors. According to the Ethiopian news agency, the meeting is also expected to review the progress of the peace process in South Sudan. ETV has learned that Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed has arrived in Djibouti to take part at the meeting. Now, Refugees and Returnees Service of Ethiopia has set its sights on further aligning development funding with project implementations toward self-reliance of refugees and host communities. The goal of Ethiopia's Refugees and Returnees Service, RRS, is to better coordinate project implementation and development funding to help refugees and host communities become self-sufficient. Meetings were held by the World Bank with RRS, UNHCR, and Lion ministries associated with the projects being funded by the bank. Additionally, workshops on forcible eviction were held.
Neo-colonizers, lukewarm Pan-Africanists, visionless Pan-Africanists, the visionless leaders who claim with their mouth that they are Pan-Africanists, but they are not.
The great Pan-Africanist and great speaker, the distinguished son of Africa.
People like Nyerere, people like Kaunda, people like Ahmed Ben Bella, even to a certain extent, people like Haile Selassie when they were convening in Addis Ababa. These were dedicated leaders.
Who is to blame here, Prof?
There should be an extraordinary meeting of the African Union with only one agenda: to resolve all the ongoing conflicts.
Welcome back. Now, the Consul General of the Ethiopia to Bahrain, Ambassador Shifarrao Gannati, met with the Director General of the IOM Country Office in Bahrain, Mohammed El Zarkani. During their meeting, the two emissaries discussed the issues pertaining to protection of the rights of Ethiopian workers living in Bahrain, as well as the support that can be provided through IOM to citizens who are in shelters and attaining their cases that are being pursued by various judicial institutions. Ambassador Shifarrao called on the UN Migration Agency to provide financial and material support to citizens who are staying in shelters and facing difficulties due to various issues. The IOM representatives on his part stated that he will work closely with Ethiopian Consulate General and provide the necessary support to the workers who have experienced human trafficking, labor exploitation, and other difficulties. Moving on, the subject of Pan-Africanism is one that remains as important today as it was many years ago. Approached by ETV, Kemi Seba in his Pan-Africanist tour here in Addis Ababa stressed that the need for Africans across nations should be remain and united. Tigray Sarnesa has the following report.
Pan-Africanism, a general term for various movements in Africa that have as their common goal the unity of Africans and the elimination of colonialism from the continent, the subject of Pan-Africanism is one that remains important today as it was many years ago. Talking to ETV, Kemi Seba, Beninese author and president of the NGO Urgencies Pan-Africanites, in his Pan-African tour here in Addis Ababa, stressed that the first thing Africans across nations need to remain is united, he noted.
And when we see how our people is divided everywhere in Africa and in the world, I think the first thing black people need on this earth in 21st century is unity. And Pan-Africanism teach us what means unity.
The author elaborated that the Pan-Africanism ideology has a tendency to create room for Africans to defend themselves from any sort of imbalanced resource exploitations.
I think that we need to spread Pan-Africanism because when you study carefully what Pan-Africanism means, you understand that this ideology is an ideology will give us the order to protect our lands, to protect our resources, to protect our family, to protect our nation, you know. And we need an ideology will give us the will and the wish to defend our population.
Due to the new world order in relation to the infamous globalization, the current generation, Seba says Pan-Africanism somehow lacks the patriotic discipline that needs to be strengthened.
And I think that there is a lack of Pan-Africanism and a lack of patriotism in Africa in the new generation, because the globalization of the world give us the feelings that we are not Africans, that we are citizens of the world. But before to be citizen of the world, we need to be citizen of somewhere, and this somewhere is Africa. And we need to protect our land, our country, because that's a rich land. But everybody came here and keep our resources, steal our resources, and we can't continue in this way.
And now moving to business stories, the Minister of Transport and Logistics indicates that modernizing and digitalizing logistics and transport system remains to be imperative for Ethiopia. The Minister Alamusime says despite Ethiopia's strong broad economic growth in recent years, its logistics systems are still in the early stage of development compared to global best practices. Daniel Kasam tells you more.
Despite Ethiopia's strong, broad economic growth in recent years, its logistics systems are still in the early stages of development compared to global best practices, and the sector has not adequately enabled the country's international trade competitiveness. An effective transport and logistics sector is now recognized almost everywhere as a core enabler of development and a precondition for national competitiveness. Taking this into consideration, lots of efforts are being exerted to bring into existence standardized services. Responding to ETV, Minister of Transport and Logistics indicates modernizing and digitalizing logistics and transport system remains to be imperative for Ethiopia.
Ethiopia transport and logistics system is currently at the slowest stage, and a lot of effort are needed to change this scenario to the positive trajectory. Ample opportunity are there in a place, but coordinating all the resource and effort is needed to achieve the desired target. An effective logistics sector is now recognized almost everywhere as a core enabler of development and precondition for national competitiveness. Technology play a critical role in logistic value determination and speed up regional, continental and international integration for the free movement of goods and people.
To ensure competitiveness, Ethiopia is working to overhaul the logistics sector by developing a national strategy, creating beneficial logistics and transport sector policy, and modernizing logistics services through digitalization among key stakeholders. This includes building more dry ports, railways, even airports or private freighters, among others.
There are demand in improvement the existing infrastructure. This includes building more dry ports, railway, even airport for private freighter, and also having a reliable power and a reliable internet are base expectation for logistic stakeholder. Our aspiration is even to expand our logistic infrastructure and serving the Horn of Africa region.
Ethiopia is transforming and constructing its transport and logistics system in consideration of contributing share for its free trade zones and to the African continental free trade area.
Hey, what's up everybody? Today I'm going to take you on a tour of the vibrant city of Freetown, Sierra Leone. Let's go.